KeKe. Kickin it with KeKe. Kickin it with KeKe. Full of personality. Switching up the storyline on God, we making history. Writing books, changing lives, one day at a time. Put your problems to the side. Enjoy yourself. Free your mind. Kickin it with KeKe.
Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Kicking It with KeKe, Life, Love, and all that other shit. I am your host, KeKe Chanel, award-winning author, lifestyle blogger, writing coach. I wear a lot of hats, but today I am focused on being the podcaster. This podcast, as you know, we are in season two, y'all. Woo! I'm so excited. Y'all just don't understand how excited I am. When I started this journey back in January, I was like overwhelmed with nervousness and excitement. So this season, I am like I'm ready for whatever happens. And so for a little bit of behind the scenes of Kicking It with KeKe, it is based on personal development, mindset, and positive personal growth. I believe in order to operate as our best selves, we need to create that headspace, the mindset, so that we can just tap into who God created us to be. And so, with that being said, I have a special guest today, and we're going to talk a little bit about staying true to who you are. Dollyah Deering, thank you for joining me today, love.
Yes,
How are you? How are you?
I am great and super excited to be here. This is awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. And as always, I like to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the listeners. So go ahead and take it away. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Yes. Hi, guys. Dollyah Deering here. I am an authorpreneur. I have a company called, or a children's book company called Fawn Fables, where we celebrate, we teach children to celebrate their differences together, to promote self love and self acceptance, and then also to enhance their problem solving and critical thinking skills. My goal and my message to all my readers is that they are supposed to listen to the voice in themselves and do what they feel like they are meant to do, even if that means they have to do it alone. So, that is just a little bit about me and the books that I have. I've published 4 books to date, and they are all children's poem books because
Hey.
to be able to remember what they read. So yeah, I am a published author, and I also help other people take their ideas from paper to publish.
Absolutely. Love that. Love that. And so, look, how has it been for you being a children's author? Like you fit the part. Like when we first met, everybody said the same thing. You look like a children's author. Like I love it. I love it. And for those of you who are just listening, I really would tell you to go over to YouTube so you can see this beautiful young lady. Like seeing how she look, you guys, y'all automatically know that she writes children's books or she teaches or something like that. Because we also said that you could be a teacher. But yeah, how has the journey been with being a children's author?
It has been mind blowing. It has been explosive. It has been awesome. But I think the biggest triumph of it all has been the fact that I listened to who I was and where I was being led to go. And it just took off from there.
Hmm.
So that's why I was so excited to speak today, especially on our subject, because
Yes.
when you start to walk in your purpose and listen to yourself and stay true to who you are, your life will flip and change and become so fulfilling instantly. Um, and it's something not only you will know, but people around you will know. And I say that because there's been times, like you asked me, how's it been being a children's book author? In the very, very beginning, it was hard.
Mm-hmm.
And I cried a lot. I was new to it. I made some stumbles like you do in anything, and I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to quit.
Mm-hmm.
And my better half was like, unfortunately, I can't let you quit because the person that you've become since you've been doing this is so much better and so much more pleasant to be around, I know that you're doing the right thing. So this is something I'm going to have to stand my ground and ask you to go ahead and push forward for.
Wow.
And
Shout
so,
out to the better half,
yes.
man.
So he was very adamant about that. And normally he flows and just kind of like, okay, what you want to do is fine.
Mhm.
But he would not let me let this dream go, even while I was crying and
Mm.
frustrated. And in my mind, I'm like, how great is what I'm doing that it overshadows my immediate pain to him?
Right.
That's
Wow,
different.
that is deep.
And so that's how you know. But when you become a better person, when you're walking in your purpose,
Mhm.
when you're staying true to who you are, it will show through that bright to others around you. So
Absolutely. I 110% agree with you on that, because when you're like we were talking before we started rolling, when your name is being mentioned in places that you're not in,
come on now.
you already know that your light is shining the way that you're supposed to be shining. Listen, I love that. I love that. And so that's a good segue into our topic
Yes,
for today,
yes,
staying true to who you are.
yes.
Even when you didn't know that that was the person that you really wanted to be and give up, staying true to who you are. I mean, how important is that to you? What does that look like for you?
Well, the first thing is when you're staying true to who you are, you can't do it wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
So I like the idea of being less likely to be wrong at it, considering it's me. I'm doing me. I'm making mistakes. I'm not saying I'm going through hard times, but these are hard mistakes that I am meant to make so that I can be who I need to be.
Right.
So I'm learning. The other thing is when you try to hold yourself to a standard of being someone else or a copy of what someone else is doing, you start to realize that there is stagnation in addition to other things you go through because you have to wait for them to lay the original blueprint.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
You,
Uh-huh.
you gotta wait for them to tell you now what is the next expectation because you're not setting them for yourself. Therefore, you give other people and outside circumstances control, and you start to feel that downward spiral
Mm-hmm.
where you're doing things, and even in your success, quote
Mm-hmm.
unquote, based on what someone else has set for you to be, it doesn't feel like winning because this isn't your standard. So I think more than anything, being true to who you are, staying true to what you're supposed to do is going to be not only freeing for you, because somebody, I was in a women's group and she said something so beautiful. She says, honesty is where my freedom is. And I
Oh,
thought about that thing and it just did something to me
wow.
because I love that. She was like, when I am being unapologetically honest, I feel so free because whether someone likes it or doesn't like it, I don't have to wear the weight of that anymore. I don't have to
Wow.
care anymore. This is my truth. And she's like, it's like taking your braids out after having them in for forever. And you
Yeah.
know, it's like freeing yourself from your brassiere after a long day.
Yes.
Like that is, and when she was, this was a women's conference, y'all. So don't judge. For you men, y'all have y'all things. I can't.
Right. Yeah. We all, yes.
But I loved all of this in this conference. And so I've taken that with me because I am working so hard to live in my truth.
Mhm.
But like you said, when you're working on personal development and you've been filled with so many expectations and the behavior from your surroundings for so long, you got to dig
Yeah.
for that truth. And
Yep.
that's where that journey begins. So hopefully that made sense and
Oh
it
yeah, it
answered
absolutely, it totally
what
did. It really did. And it brings me to the point of when you're trying to be somebody that you're not, eventually that mask will come off. And
yes.
if you want what someone else have, you are always going to be striving for more because like you said, they're laying that foundation, they're doing the groundwork. And so you just sitting like twiddling your thumbs, what's next, instead of tapping into what you're supposed to be doing, you know, it's in you. I tell anybody, the thing that you love most and the thing that you're supposed to be doing in your life is within you. Now you have to tap into those things. You have to seek those things. And it starts by having that personal relationship with God for me.
Yes. Yes.
And
And
knowing when you hear the voice of God versus something else.
And I won't, I'm very big on trying not to push other people, and what they believe, but I do believe, for me, believing in God and putting him first and letting that be my center gives me a reference point. It
Yes.
gives me somewhere to tie my bungee cord as I leap through life. You see what
Oh,
I'm
love
saying?
it, love it, love
So
it.
for people who are, you know, if you don't have it, all I can say is, if you don't have a reference point, if you don't have that rock, that core,
That anchor.
I it's hard for me to even get your address or interact with you,
Mm-hmm.
given the fact that it just seems like you're untethered. You're
Yeah,
not you're not
yeah,
anywhere.
yeah.
And I think that a lot of times, for me, like you said, it's starting with God. It's not just me saying that because I was raised Christian. It's more
Absolutely.
so like, once I developed and went to him, and I broke down and came to him first. That's where all this came from. And girl, if you only knew my real story, when I
Mm.
finally went to him to get to where I am, that's when I was able to tie my bungee cord and leap properly, because I knew confidently what I was tied to. So I think that you're absolutely right. And I thought that it was important to me, bringing it back to what we're talking about, as far as, staying true to yourself. I had to go to someone who knew me before I was born. I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to someone who knew that what my destiny was. I had to find my source of saying, "Hey, I know you won't forsake me if I see." I had to go to where that consistency for me and my beliefs lied, so that I could feel confident there, and then be able to clearly see and hear through direction, through all the things that were aligning in my life, which way what was meant for me to go. And
Mm-hmm.
I fought, believe it or not, I fought the children's book direction for a little while. For a
Listen,
little
I
while.
fought my whole writing journey.
Yeah.
I always was thrown into it. I mean, I fell in love with words when I was 3 years old. Shout out to my Aunt Mooney, who took us to the library every day and pushed us to read and do those challenges over the summer and all of that kind of stuff. I learned how to read when I was 3. And she told me it was just for her watching me take on, like, the words just lit my face up. She said, "Oh my God, I knew it was gonna be something. I knew you was gonna be doing something involving words." And so I would write poetry for friends and families, and
Mhm.
for different occasions and stuff like that. And I just didn't use my words to inspire me. I used it to inspire other people. So when I hit my rock bottom, it was a voice that spoke to me, and I know it was nobody but God. Why don't you and use your words to inspire yourself when you've done that for other people? And so that was a revelation for me to actually stay true to who I am and stop running from my purpose, because I wasn't always there where I loved myself. I didn't. So I allowed other people to love on me and accepted some BS that I just wasn't supposed to accept. That's a whole nother story. And it's, y'all will be able to read that in my first memoir that's coming this year sometime. But when it comes to staying true to who you are on a professional level, how important do you believe that is? Because sometimes we can lose ourselves. We have life and work-life balance and all this kind of stuff. We could put a little bit too much into one and neglect the other. So when it comes to, being true to who we are professionally, what can you tell listeners that looks like for you?
So what I find is that staying true to who you are professionally will help you get to exactly what your professional goals are, with the ideal and desired clientele that you have.
Mm-hmm.
When you are not staying true to who you are professionally, and you're not being honest about your methods on how to reach them, you will find that maintaining the clientele, if you even reach them,
Right.
to be very, very difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's happening is, you are putting the band-aid where you think it should go versus where it hurts. And I
Oh.
think that that is very important. So here's an example of what I mean. I'm gonna use my job to a degree. So
Mm-hmm.
I work in marketing, and I work with apartments. I've worked in that industry for a long time. There's a standard that we have for the staff when they're interacting with prospects, that we
Mm-hmm.
want them to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And there has been a change. There's been COVID, there's been all kind of stuff.
Right.
But because a lot of them were not worried about internal values, about being honest, but they wanted to impress, they were doing everything that was on our standard to do, even if it was costing them people, because they didn't want to speak up and be the one to say, this doesn't feel right. This doesn't
Mm.
fit today's climate. This, so as it's my job to go in and do the work and talk to people. And it wasn't until I could spend time with them individually and across the board at different properties that I have, then they all were telling me, hey, the truth is, this is what's wrong.
Uh-huh.
This is what people want, but that's not what we're supposed to say. I don't want to be the one to say that. But
Mhm.
as soon as I was like, I'm gonna say it because
Right.
they need to know. And of course, being in my position, I was able to bring that back. We looked over it and said, okay, hey, here's how we're gonna change this. This is
Mhm.
what we can do, and floodgates open.
Wow.
Everybody started, but because they were not being true to their value, which is being honest,
Mhm.
because they didn't want to speak up and say, hey, this is truly what's going on, and they rather meet expectation to keep us smiling. No, we weren't covering the right bases. We were spending money in places that we didn't need to spend money. We were spending more money on advertising to draw more people in, when in all honesty, that's not where our issue was. When we get the people in, it's how we were dealing with them.
Right.
But look at the money we wasted
Yeah.
because we couldn't get honesty from our staff, because they were so afraid and they rather just go with whatever what the standard was.
Right.
So I'm giving that example, but that happens in a lot of our businesses. That happens in a lot of things that we do. There's so many of us that get into an industry and
Mhm.
we say, hey, this is what the industry is doing. I'm going to do exactly this, so on and so forth. But God gave you a gift to change that industry in a different way. And
Right.
if you would have the faith to step out on it and be true to who you are and present yourself in that way, it may not be easy at first, but the right clientele will start to come to you for your
Absolutely.
truth. And you won't have a problem being consistent in delivering them what you said you'll deliver, because it is in line with who you are.
Absolutely. So it's safe to say glowing with the flow is not always the move.
No, no. And your goal in any, and that's one thing I want people to realize. Your goal, or at least my goal when I enter any industry, is not just to join and be a part of it. I want to make my mark. I want to
Yes.
make my space. I want to create my lane, because I want it to last. I'm very big on legacy. I want,
Mhm.
my personal mantra is to live with an intention of legacy. So
Right.
in order for me to have longevity, and in order for me to do that, I need to create a strong foundation
Mhm.
that can move forward. I'm not going to be able to do that if I'm just taking what everybody else did and doing exactly, because as soon as they fall, so would I. My whole standard is built on what they've done versus me doing the research, figuring out how they built theirs, and now using the technique and the uniqueness of me to say, how do I make this better? How do I make this where I can last and that I can stand out? And I found that when you do it that way, there's nobody can bring it the Eunice to what you're doing like you can. And I always call it that
Absolutely.
Eunice,
Absolutely.
you know.
Yes. I love that. Eunice.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. And see, I was having a conversation with the a lady a couple of weeks ago, and she used the perfect example when it comes to that, what you just said.
Mhm.
When you get ready to build a house, the first thing you have to do is clear out the space, your lot, because you can't build a foundation over all of the trees and roots and all this kind of stuff. What happens if you decide to do that?
Yeah.
All hell break loose.
Right.
You have plumbing issues, foundation issues, and all of that. So you clear it out, and then you start from ground up. You
Hmm.
have the blueprint, and then you make changes along the way. That's the same thing with staying true to who you are. No, you're not going to be the same person that you was 10 years ago, and you shouldn't want to, because we are supposed to change, grow, and evolve on a daily. That looks
Hmm.
different for someone else. And although I say this a lot, those three words mean the same, but it's different levels to that.
Hmm.
So when it comes to knowing your worth, I believe that that is something that should, mindset and knowing your worth are the two standards when it comes to staying true to who you are.
Yeah, and the thing is, I saw this quote, and again, and I'm referencing God because that's my point, and I want people to
Absolutely.
know that that's my reference point, so that's why I'm referencing him. But I saw this quote, and it just really struck me. It said, the same God that gave you the idea for the business will give you the clientele. He didn't
Absolutely.
he's not going to give you the business and not give you the client. There's a purpose for that. So what we lack a lot of times is, rather than building the business and just waiting and saying, well, the people ain't showing up yet, you need to be preparing for the
When they
crowd
do.
you want.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be preparing for the volume that you want. There's so many times, and I always reference my job because it makes it easier,
Mm-hmm.
where I go to a property and they may say to me, we're not leasing and we need 20 leases. We need 20 leases, or we're short budget and all this. And I get to the property, they don't have 20 apartments ready. They
Wow.
don't have 20 applications printed.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have 20. So in my mind, you're telling me that you need this, but you're not even prepared if they came in.
Right.
You wouldn't even know what to
What to
do.
do. Mm.
So it's one of those things where people think to themselves, I need the clientele first and then I'm gonna figure it out. Absolutely not. That's not how
No.
anything works. You're not gonna sit up there and say, I'm a skincare business, but I'm not gonna create any skincare products until I have people that are
Exactly.
saying that they want my, that's backwards. They need
Right.
to see something. You can improve,
Mm-hmm.
but have something to offer these people. So I'm saying that to say, um, you definitely want to make sure that whatever it is that you're asking for,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that you have, do not look at today. Always look at your ending goal and figure out today, what can I do? What decisions today can I make that will be most aligned with that end goal?
Absolutely.
You
And
see what I'm
see, you listen, and I love that you say that because, this year I had to make some adjustments to my contract in my business. And before I signed any client for this year, my prayer was, God, you send the people that I'm supposed to work with in my business, and let all of us align to for your purpose, so that we can, be on the same page, because everybody that talks about writing a book ain't ready to do the work that it takes to get it, to put into it. And you know how it goes.
Listen.
They want you to do the work. I mean, I'm a writing coach. I coach you through it, not do it for you. Now, if you want me to ghost write it, that's totally different.
Different.
Let's talk about
Yes.
it. I
Yes.
offer that service as well. So,
Yes.
but when it comes to the pricing,
Yes.
everybody is crickets.
Yes.
And I don't pride myself of trying to break the bank, but I know my worth and I know what I put into it and I know what you're gonna get. So staying true to who I am as a business person. Talk
And
to you.
that is your responsibility, though, because people don't look at it this way. Whether you know it or not, I have an end goal for myself in mind.
Mhm.
I've defined where it is I'm going to go. Every time that I do anything that deviates from that, it is costing me how soon I reach here, right?
Mhm.
So if my goal and my plan, which is to help you do what you need to do, I've already budgeted how much that costs,
Yep.
because it is going to cost. I'm doing that as opposed to working on this. Even
Yeah.
if it's aligned to do
Yep.
this, I'm choosing you versus another client. So
Yes.
all of these things have to do with this. So I've already put the price on what I'm asking you for, not just because of my time that it's taking for me to spend time with you, but also the time it takes away from me working on this end goal.
And
So
your
yeah,
family
and
as
my
well.
family, my
Mhm.
personal time,
Mhm.
all of that to me is a part of my big picture.
Yep.
So when you say to me, hey, why are you charging? I want this for this budget. It's not worth, you see, this is what
Yeah.
I'm looking at.
Yeah.
It's not worth this to me.
Yeah.
So what I'm telling you is, if you're going to pull, distract, or get any part of me not getting here,
Mhm.
this is what that costs.
Exactly.
And you have to make a decision if that works for your pockets. But I've already defined for me my goals. And when I waver from that, I'm still going to take this cost, even if I make it cheaper for you. So I'm losing twice.
Absolutely.
So this is why staying true to who you are is important, but we have to talk about, again, discovering who you are.
Yes.
You've got to figure out this price, and a lot of us have not.
Right.
There's a lot of us who are saying to ourselves, I can't wait to the end of this. I want to end up here, and we have this vision, but
Mhm.
we haven't looked at, okay, what are the steps and what needs to happen to get here? Because if
Mhm.
you did and you had that all aligned, you now know what it means for other people to cost you and say, don't take this step closer to this, stop and help me. Now
Right.
you know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can be honest with yourself and say, hey, you may feel like I'm being rude to you and rejecting you. It's not that. I know how soon and where I'm trying to get, and I can help us all if I can get here.
Right.
So I'm going to opt to make you a little frustrated today so that I can leave, give you my hand tomorrow and bring you to where I'm headed. If you
Exactly.
haven't also figured out where you're going, if that makes sense.
Yes, totally, totally. Why do you feel people don't embrace who they are?
Because embracing who they are takes a part of that is figuring out who they've been and being
Mm,
honest about that. And I
mm,
think a lot of people don't want to take that first honest look so that they can turn and change themselves into who they want to be.
wow.
So I think that it is very easy not to embrace who you are. I think it is very easy not to like certain parts of yourself. And the moment you embrace that, it's like you're saying it out loud and you're telling other people.
Right.
You're not ready for that. But you don't realize that the other side of that coin is is growth. On
Mm,
the other side of that coin is being better. I always say you're never going to go to the grocery store to buy eggs if you don't first check the refrigerator to know that you're out.
right.
You're never going to think that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of people who rather say I can make an omelet if I want to and never check that fridge. They don't want
Right.
to know that they're out of eggs.
Wow.
So those
Wow.
those are the things that keep people from embracing themselves, especially in a day and age where, of course, I work in marketing and things like that. But in a day and age where perception is definitely reality, if
Oh,
you can
what?
if you can make someone believe you're one thing,
Uh-huh.
you'd rather live in that vanity and fantasy world
Mm-hmm.
than the truth. That's why when people talk about the metaverse and all these things coming up, I'm very excited to be a part of them. But I'm like, we've all been living in mentally in a metaverse for I don't know how long.
Right.
we have been faking reality more and more
Every day.
every
Yes.
everybody. Nobody's really living in what's happening now. And the people who typically are the ones that you will find winning because they've decided to be honest. Not
Absolutely. And I think self-acceptance is like the pivotal goal for staying
yeah,
true to who you are.
yes.
And
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about self-acceptance. Like, what does that mean for you?
So I think I told you about this. But there was a time when I was younger, and I'm not really outdoorsy, but I was in track.
Yes, ma'am.
And when I was in track, I was very, very slow. I was very, very slow, and I could not even hardly make it to the finish line most of the practices. But I was so young. This is like middle school, and back then in my middle school, they didn't cut you. If you wanted to be a part of the track team, they couldn't afford to cut you. You were
You
on the team.
wanted to, uh-huh.
So I was on the track team. I had done it. And so we had a race, and my mom had come to the race, and everybody came to watch. And I was the slowest thing. It was to the point where the other team had won already. Everybody from that team, my mom, everybody's waiting for me to get to the finish line. And I'm going as fast as I can.
Yeah.
It's not that fast, but I'm trying to get there. And
Right.
I finally make it to the finish line. It was so anticlimactic for everyone else. They're like, finally, let's go. This is done. That's how bad I was. And we obviously lost.
Mhm.
When I say I ran off that field so excited, I wanted ice cream. I was ready to celebrate. I felt so great. And my mom, I'll never forget, she said she was worried because she's like, who's going to tell her that she did not win? This was not this was bad. Like my mom said she was so frustrated with me because she couldn't understand my excitement. But the thing was, for me, I was excited that I had finished.
Right.
I was excited that I had done it. I
Right.
did not care if the rest of the team lost. I
Right.
did not care because for me, I was so impressed with myself in that moment
Mm-hmm.
that's all that I had already accepted that I was never going to be a runner. I knew I was a writer. I understood that.
Yeah.
But I was running and I was in track and I finished a whole race. Like I was beyond myself. And I just would not stop talking. I was talking. And my mom says, anybody listening to me, you would have thought that that was the championship of my life.
But I love that though. I love that how you didn't give up on yourself.
Right. But that was because I had accepted who I was.
Mm.
I knew at that time, not saying, and I don't want anybody to say that means that I couldn't been a sports star, and
Mm-hmm.
anybody who's into athletics and competitive, still do you.
Mm-hmm.
My point is self-acceptance for me has always been something I've been strong on, even young.
Right.
Like I've always been honest with myself about this is what I can do,
Mm-hmm.
this is what I can't do, and the things that I can do, I'm gonna celebrate.
Right.
Like we're going to celebrate. I am so excited. And so self-acceptance is something that just because of history, I think when I was really young, I had some different challenges growing up with certain family members, and I learned to be my own cheerleader very early because of those situations.
Right.
So with that in mind, being my own cheerleader was something I was big on, and I found that friends and people around me started to love and accept themselves being around me because they knew that was just where I kind of what my gift was. I feel like that's something that God gave me through my challenges.
Right.
So I'm very big on preaching and pushing that through to my books and to other everything else because I realize in this world, no matter how close I get to someone else, I will never, ever, ever be anybody but me. I can have
Yes.
plastic surgery. I can do all kinds of things to change, but I will always and forever be me. I am going to die this person.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I not use this life then to celebrate and be proud of and accept all the things that come along with
Mm-hmm.
being who I am?
Absolutely.
So that's kind
Absolutely.
of my thought on that.
Yeah, I mean, and you said something before when we spoke. Keep making steps until you get there.
Yes. Yes.
And that
Yes.
right there, like still like it's in my ears. Like even on my days where I just don't want to do this, I want to lay around. I know I have deadlines. I still those words resonate. And I'm
Yes.
like, okay, I can see that smile. I can see
Yes.
the bow that you wearing. You know, I can see.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, Dollyah, you got to get out of my head. But yeah,
Yes.
we have to in everything that we do, especially if it's a part of our purpose. We
Yes.
have to keep making steps until we get there.
Yes.
Don't worry about how short or how long it took somebody else. Focus on you
Yes.
because at the end of the day, you don't know what sacrifices were made, what underhandedness,
Yes.
things that were taken, part. But self-acceptance for me is loving myself through it all, good,
Yes.
bad, and the ugly,
Yes.
because my life wasn't always so pretty. I didn't have it good. I mean, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my head. For me, growing up, I thought we had it. I thought we were just rich because my parents kept all that stuff hidden. And so when I grew up and I had this moment, man, my mama done been making a shake. Let me see if I can help out or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yes.
So until I got that mentality of everything is not always as it seems, I would have been stuck. I would have stayed stuck in that.
Yes.
And so, um, at what point should we stop placing blame on other people when
Oh
it
my God.
comes to, you know, not being who we are? Like sometimes, we've all had people in our circle and we may have done it before, ourselves. Blame our childhoods, blame, some of the traumas that we experienced, friends, whatever, on how we are now or what we missed out on.
Let me. uh, uh, It was so crazy. We were just having a conversation. I was just having a conversation with someone else about this. One of the things I had to do, and I'm going to go with parents. I'm going to go there because I feel like that's where a lot of it starts. There was a long time that I started to think to myself, because of the parents I have, I may not have had this.
Mm,
Because my mom didn't do this, I may not have had this. And as I became an adult and I saw things for myself and I went off to college is where it really started.
mm-hmm,
I saw a lot of things that other kids had that I didn't have, so on and so forth. A lot of ways that their parents interacted with them when I went home with them for stuff. And so I came home to my mom like, "What's up?" I was like, I had subpar parenting apparently because, and I wanted to blame her. I was angry about my attitude, and we went through our stage of when I was growing up and becoming a woman on my own.
mm-hmm.
And then I went and my grandmother passed away. And before she did, though, she had Alzheimer's and she couldn't remember things. So she would go back a lot of times to when my mother was little and she thought that's who I was.
Uh-huh.
And she would talk to me and she would tell me so many things.
Mm.
And I realized that a lot of things that she would tell me, I would share with my mom, and my mom would be like, I don't remember that, or I didn't know that, or and we all did a lot of healing and things. But one of the things I learned in that moment, and that's why I share with other people, I realized just how much my grandmother gave to my mother.
Mm.
I realized just how much she did for her. And then it put into perspective for me, and a light bulb went off. Nobody owes me anything.
Mm.
My mom gave me everything she had, she knew to do. Every part of growing up with her was a gift, and she gave what she had, the
Right.
resources she used. Anything else after that, if I can see it's wrong, I can make the change now
Right.
myself.
Right.
I can do the healing now myself.
Right.
And that's why I'm able to recognize, hey, I don't like this, or these are things. But it's not for me to go back and throw in her face what she didn't give me. It's for me to take that knowledge and make the changes for myself and be the change I want to see in me. And
Absolutely.
when I started to deal with my mother from a perspective of gratitude, when I started to deal with anybody else in my family who was a part of my raising, even if there were bitter portions, but I looked at what the positive I could learn from that, no matter why I learned that, and were appreciative to them for treating me and teaching me that. My relationships with family members increased so much. My relationship with people around me increased. So I stopped looking at the world and circumstances as if I had been slighted because someone owed me something more.
Right.
Mhm.
Wow.
So I think that when you say, what do we talk about, blaming circumstance? When you're blaming circumstance, you still are under the belief and under the guise that someone was supposed to give you something. What
Entitlement.
there Listen, I would love for people to experience a mother's love. I would love for people to experience a lot of things that may seem common and we put in our core values. I'm not arguing with that.
Mm-hmm.
But what I am saying is, if we're going to all align, and again, I'm talking from a Christian point of view, that God don't sleep, if
Right.
we're going to all align and say that he's aware of everything and
Mm-hmm.
everything works for his greater good,
Mm-hmm.
then that means he was aware of
Mm.
any of the things that you were missing and didn't have, and you are still here today breathing. You're not a breathing on accident.
Right.
There's a purpose for you to be drawing breath. There is something he wants you to do based on what you knew at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you to figure that out. It needs to be a very clean line to me from point A to point B. And when you do that, you will start to find that the world will open up and start to provide solutions, options, pathways to success. So many things will happen because you now are able to see them.
Right.
But when you're coming from a perspective that you are still old, or I couldn't do that, girl, my circumstance, well,
Yeah.
I've got bad genes, so I could never be skinny and all. When you start to come from a perspective of needing more to be what you're supposed to be, you're
Oh,
gonna find yourself always lacking.
yes. Never fulfilled. Always unfulfilled. Always living in a negative headspace. Always woe is me. Always a pity party. And at some point, you just have to say, you know what? Enough is enough. Let me change the things that I have control over, and the things that I don't, let me let those things go.
And
They're
for
not
those,
serving you.
yes, and start to be grateful that like no different from what you do from a job. There
Mm.
are jobs that really you in your head like this job has taken me through the ringer. But when it's time to do that 2 week notice, I want to thank you guys for everything you've done. I appreciate why? Because we want that reference.
Yeah.
We want to leave on a good.
Yeah.
That's how we should be living. Look,
Yes.
look for everything that is not right in your life. Start to write your 2 week notice today. Start
Oh,
to give that notice today. Start to
yes.
be grateful for all the things that were positive, and then look for your new opportunity where you're going. So that way, you can give me a great reference, if anything. I want people to, I started to get to a point within myself where if people were speaking negative about me, I know that it either was a lie or I was unaware that I was hurting. That's the
Mhm.
way I put myself in that position,
Right.
because I want to interact with people consistently, intentionally, and make sure that everything that I'm doing makes sense. Now, in the event that it puts me in a position or a headspace where it changes that, I start to make my exit strategy. I
Right.
start to find another opportunity, because I can't afford to damage my brand, who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't afford to start to live. You live in, if you make yourself live in a circumstance too long that you know that doesn't fit your destiny and where you're going, it starts to affect your mind.
It
It
does.
starts to affect, yeah, you got
It,
to get out of that.
you got to get out of there. And then it affects how you love yourself. And I feel like when you love yourself unconditionally and unapologetically, you grow and glow differently.
Oh my,
You do.
it,
You move through life with intention.
it and it's so, see, listen to me. I want people to know the joy of not having to cut people off, because I'm not going to lie to you. I am a Leo. I am a cutoff artist. Okay.
I'm
I
a
can
Capricorn.
do
I'm a
it.
Capricorn, and my cutoff gang is so
It's
strong.
strong. It's so
Oh,
strong. Okay. I might, if I cut you off and I see you in public, I'm shocked because I done made you dead to me. So that's the thing at work.
and it depends on the day. If it depends on the day whether I acknowledge you or I walk past you like you cast.
Yeah. So here's the thing. But coming from that feeling, I always say that, but coming from that feeling, you get to a point that when you start to align yourself and be so deep rooted into what you're doing, I don't even have to practice that anymore. I don't
Right.
even have to cut people.
Mhm.
They naturally drop off and keep from, they don't even want to be, because you can't pretend where I'm going, baby.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? For those of you who really can't swim, you're not going to be able to do that dog paddle too long out here where I'm at. You're going to have to figure it out. So that's,
Hey.
but that is what happens. You need to get into the thick of who you are, so
Listen,
that
you better learn
people
how to
with,
swim.
yes, so that people with those thin intent, they cannot, they won't be able to tear it. But
Absolutely.
that is because you are so deep rooted in your goal and where you're going. And a
Mhm.
lot of times I hear people when they're talking to me, they say, girl, that's you. You say all that, but you don't know. And they give you this laundry list of excuses.
Yep.
And I always tell people, I want you to realize that we were speaking about something positively. I didn't even give you a negative circumstance. I gave you a solution. And the first thing you did was not give me one, but multiple reasons why it didn't work. You brought the problems with you.
Right.
I
Stop
want you to,
bringing the
yeah,
problems with you.
I want you to hear in your head. You brought the, not once did you listen to what I said and say, you know what? I'm going to make an effort at that. I'm going to try this. That wasn't your mindset. Was, yeah, but I can't
Uh-huh.
because
It's always
you
but I.
you have got your problems with you and you have made them comfortable. You brought
Mm.
them new clothes. You got them all made up. Your problems are ready for prom, okay? Because you
What?
don't, yeah, because you don't want to let them go. Your
Yes.
some people don't realize that their problems, their ailments, are their pride and joy.
Yes.
You've
Mhm.
got to get to a point where that cannot be. If somebody's bringing you a solution, I'd rather you be honest. Just like I'm going through that stage right now. My business is at a point where it is growing, and it is growing so heavy. I will not lie. I'm being honest on this thing with you. It is a almost a thorn in my side, because it is pushing and poking at me and saying I'm ready for the next level. And
Right.
I'm scared, y'all. I'm not
Mm.
going. I am scared, but that is a part of the growth, and I'm accepting that and I'm figuring it out. But I'd rather sit here and tell y'all I'm scared and it's hard
And
than
what
to
did
give
TG Jake
y'all,
say? He said, if your dreams are not frightening you, you're not dreaming big enough.
I'd rather say that than to sit up here and tell you, oh, the reason why I'm not growing is because this, oh, I'm not going to grow. I'd rather stay and honestly keep admitting where I am
Mhm.
than to give you guys excuses or
Excuses.
to give other people excuses,
Mhm.
because that makes it make for people who do follow me, champion me, or around me, it makes them feel comfortable in being safe, you know.
Right. Mhm.
So I want people to, I hope that that makes sense to everyone. I really want people to realize you've got to put your best effort at being better than you were yesterday. And if you fail yourself in any way and you think to yourself at the end of the day, man, I could have made a better decision, don't tarry on that. Accept the fact that you have realized that. Be proud and celebrate the fact that you're thinking that way, and then get excited and prepare for tomorrow so that you make a better decision then. And you just keep going that way. Your goal every day is to look at your end goal and ask yourself, the decisions that I'm making today, how close are they to that? And
Right.
try to make as many as you knowingly can. And on the days that you're tired and you don't beat yourself up for it.
Yep.
Accept it, rest,
Mm-hmm.
and now tomorrow let's try it again. That's it.
And it's okay not to get that all the list done. You mark off what you can and then you start
Yes,
where you stopped the next day. You don't
yes,
have to start over, start where you stopped.
yes,
And then
yes,
eventually you're going to get everything on that list done and plus
yes,
some.
yes. And I always say this: fail out loud. Please fail out loud.
Yeah,
You
like
must,
that.
because what happens is when you run at something and you run and give it all you have, three things happen. The people who saw you and said that you couldn't do it, they get
Mhm.
excited because you didn't do it.
Right.
The people who were hoping that you didn't do it, that you would do it, and you didn't, they're like, oh man, but she tried. And they're like, all right, I'm gonna root for her the next time. Then there
Mhm.
were people who didn't even know you were trying to do it, that are
Right.
gonna see you, that have the answer, and gonna say, oh, I see what tripped her up. Let me go and give her what that difference is.
Wow.
And now you try again. But
Yes.
if you are not feeling loud enough to attempt to get the attention of that last crowd,
Mhm. Mhm.
you will constantly be in a position where nobody's going to be giving you or aligning or sending you resources for what you're aiming at, because nobody even knew you were trying to get there.
Absolutely.
You didn't even you were too afraid to be loud about your intention.
And listen, you saying that you were afraid, like being the word afraid. And
Mhm.
we talked about this before we started. Like
Yes,
you were afraid that you wearing something on your
yes,
wrist. You're
yes.
afraid to take them off because that's been getting you sales since you put them on.
Yes,
Look, shout out to Hallie B Bees, y'all.
yes,
She
yes,
does branding bees for your company, your business, and I have mine too. I don't have them on right now because they make a lot of noise, because and she goes with the different colors that you have in your business. Mine's have a little microphone. It has a book because I'm a writer.
yes.
It has an elephant on there because that's like one of my favorite animals. And the one thing that stood out to me most is she put an affirmation on there, and it
Oh,
says, "You make the world a beautiful place."
I love that.
And I look at that and I'm like, okay, God, I understand where you going with that, because I didn't tell her to put it on there. She just
Mm-mm.
so happened to put it on there. And
Yes,
so we're in this network of people and we support one another. And Hallie is like the go-to guru when it
she
comes to
is with them
bees.
beads.
Listen,
And
tell
I've
us
got
about your beads. Tell us about your
Yes,
beads.
she did. When I got mine, I cried a little
I
because she
know.
really embodied everything from my color scheme,
Mhm.
my butterflies, to my doe, which is my deer, because I'm Fawn Fables.
Oh wow, I didn't know that there was a deer. That is so
She's got a
cute.
deer on there. She's got the book. And
Uh-huh.
she's got everything. And so she's got these bows that are on there, because bows, as you guys see, are my trademark. I always have a bow on anywhere I go.
Right.
And she just has everything that reminds me of what it is that I'm doing. And she's got them in my brand colors. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how things happen when you're in your niche and in your
And staying
being
true to who you
consistent.
are.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
staying true to who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So when she bought these beads, I'm very big on not being seen without my brand on, but there are times, like when I go to formal events and work, that I'm not supposed to be wearing my brand, so it makes me mad.
Yeah.
However, now that she's giving me these beads, I can be in brand everywhere
Everywhere. Yeah.
I go. So I'm not taking them off. And I love the fact that they make noise because they bring attention.
Right.
Because I work in sales, because I am also not only do I, making the sales for my books and to things that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
I also for my company am working in sales. I want you to understand, anytime that you are working in the capacity of sales, the clients that come to you are already knowing and expecting to be sold on something. So
Right.
they are reserved because they don't want to be sold on any more than what they need. They're very cautious. When you catch them off guard, though, And when you're able to let that guard down, that block that they have, because so you don't approach them, is when you do things that appeal to their senses, their
Mm,
smell, their
mhm,
sight,
mhm.
everything like that. Things that make, oh, what's that smell? Or,
Yeah.
oh, that's so pretty. And so with these beads moving around, the people, they first come in, they're meeting you, and they're like, hi, I'm just looking for this. And then you start speaking, oh, girl, what's that?
Yeah.
And so now I was like, oh, these are my, and now that's giving me an opportunity to explain my brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's giving me an opportunity to connect with them. It's
Mm-hmm.
giving me an opportunity to get them to let their guard down. And if you know anything about sales, they have to first make room
Yeah.
for you so that you can create the value you need emotionally for them to make the monetary sale.
Right.
So when I've been having this, it's almost like having a rider when you're trying to get a baby to take a picture. I mean, people love it. What is? Oh my gosh! And that's such a unique story. And oh, she's so. Yeah, okay, so this is what I'm looking for, and then we talk, and then we go,
Right.
and I mean, it's been one bucket after the other, just
That's
laying them.
awesome.
And
That
I love that, and I'm saying that to say though, shout out to her for these. They do so much more, like I said, for you. And then on top of that, personally for me, on top of being a conversation piece, they're a reminder to me.
mm-hmm.
They're a reminder to me that I am in brand, that I am a representation of what I'm doing. Even if I'm upset or I'm in a weird situation, or I may not feel like you said, sometimes we don't have the best day.
Mm-hmm.
They're a reminder
Mm-hmm.
that this is the goal. This is the end goal that I keep talking about.
Right.
You all right? Stay true to
Mhm.
yourself.
Yep.
Keep going. So, and everybody has their different things that they do, but this bracelet and these beads have produced so much more value to me than to just be colorful and cute. And this is all because she put her true gift into this. She didn't just say, what's your colors, pink, and give me a bunch of pink stuff.
Oh no,
She
she has
gave,
questions.
she has questions. She
mm-hmm.
gets into your brand. She wants you to send her the logo. She really works hard on that. But all these things come again because she was true to herself.
Right.
Imagine how many people may have doubted her when she was like, I'm gonna do a bead bracelet business. And they're looking
Mm-hmm.
at her like, girl, this is 2022. You better make an app.
Right.
You better do something.
Yes.
And she's like,
Absolutely.
no, this
No.
is what my calling is. And so there are people like myself and other people who know other brands, other business people that are like, hey, you want to be in brand? Go see my girl. And we are
Yes.
sending her and feeding
Send.
her clientele on a
Yes.
regular. But this is because she stayed true to herself,
Right.
stayed true to her calling, and she started to network and be loud about the fact that
Yes.
she is a bead brand maker, brand. She makes branding beads. Okay?
Right. Yeah.
So again, all of this is to say, you guys start to decide for yourself who you
Who
are,
you are.
what you're doing, and commit. And
Yes.
commit to the point where you're going to tell people out loud, yes, this is my goal. This is what I
Absolutely.
want to do. And then just be, I will say this, be teachable too. Be
Oh,
teachable.
yes.
Be true. Because there's a lot of times that I like to stay true to who I am. But like we said, a part of figuring out who I am is seeing honestly
Mm-hmm.
my good and my bad. And there are still some times, because I've been me all my life, that
Mm-hmm.
I can't see certain things.
Right.
And I have to be honest, if everybody in my family, people around me keep saying the same thing, I need to start to research that and look in to see, hey, what are some things that I can make an adjustment for?
Yeah.
Where are some areas that I may be wrong at?
You know,
Are
that's my
these,
word for this year, right?
yeah, like how am I coming across to people? Because if my message to everyone around me is a message of love, longevity, and legacy,
Mm-hmm.
what am I leaving? What is the impression they're getting? Because that's my intention. But what are they giving? And that's my personal 3 L's, guys: love, longevity, and legacy. I'm very big on that.
Listen, I
And
was writing
so,
it down.
yes. So it's one of those things that I've got to figure out though. If everybody from my family to people at my job to people in my network, are they experiencing the 3 L's with me? Do they feel that when they interact with me? And if they do not, what am I doing to keep that from happening? Is it a
Mm.
good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do I need to add another something? But I need to be always looking and trying to evolve in that way. And that comes from being teachable.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Love, longevity, and legacy. I love that. And I'm all with my podcast, I'm all about changing the narrative in our culture, our community, and our consciousness. So I have the 3 C's that I focus on.
See,
Yes.
yeah.
But when it comes to your books and how to connect with you, tell the people how they can support you by getting your books, connect with you in case they need some pointers on branding, marketing, all of that good stuff. Tell everybody how they
Yes,
can find you
yes.
and support you by getting your books.
So if you are looking for me, and I always say anywhere that you see Dollyah Deering, you will have links to me. And that's DollyahDeering, or my company Fawn Fables, FAWN FABLES, like fabulous. I'm just playing. FawnFables.com. You'll be able to have links and find my books. I want to show you guys because I was so excited. Let me tell y'all something. I was supposed to be on here selling and telling y'all about myself, but I was so excited for this conversation with my new friend, with my new network, about the importance of being true to yourself. I love to empower, and I did
Yes.
not want to miss that moment. But I do actually have my books with me.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is I Am Greatness. Brown with a Crown is one.
Love, love, love.
Stony the Vegan Pizza Night.
Oh,
And my bestseller, Worth the Wood. And
wow.
so this Worth the Wood is a book about persistence. And I always hear that that even though parents are buying them for their fawns, they're reading them a lot. They're leaving me reviews. Check out my reviews. I'm so proud to be able to say that. Go on Amazon. My books are available on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books a Million, anywhere that there are books and they're online, they're available there. But if you go on Amazon, a lot of my reviews on there, and just check out what people say.
Mm-hmm.
There. But I wanted to read you guys one of the quotes out of my I Am Greatness. It's a affirmation book
Okay.
that I designed it where when you read it to them the first time, you read it to them. But after that, I want you to teach them to read and repeat these things in the mirror. So
Right.
the book, every character is in the mirror saying these different
Oh,
affirmations.
cool.
So one of the affirmations that I always read to everyone, and the premise of this book is, I will defend you and commend you when you are doing your best, because you are also greatness and it's contagious. You are tied to my success. And I feel like that is something that I want everybody in all fonts to know, that they need to be connected. Being
Yeah.
successful is great on your own, but look for the greatness in other people versus the differences that divide you. Because
Right.
the more that you succeed and the more that you connect with others, the greater they will, you'll be. So as a team. So that is one of the things that
I
I
love
like to.
that. I love that. Oh my goodness.
And so here is Doe. She is my signature character, what I call my Mickey Mouse for my book.
Ah, she's so cute.
Her book is coming out soon. She's got a long a poem out. It's not too long, but it's kind of her introduction and her message to all the fans. And her favorite quote at the end is, "If someone must be great, why not you? And
Mm,
if you plan to be great, why wait? Because however is a dream to come true if it isn't put into action when you wake." And so that's her poem, and her a part of her poem at the bottom. I love poetry. I write poetry, so I write books in rhyme. I also write poems separately,
mm-hmm.
but it's very important to me to rhyme, because like you, I write poems to myself to motivate myself. That's kind of,
Right. Mm-hmm.
my poetry was more private
Mine
growing up.
too. Mine too.
And then
I don't really share it, but I shared one on my page today.
yeah, I don't. But when people do hear them, they're like, "Why don't you pump? You gotta tell." And I'm like, because I get nervous, because these things were this is my real trial that I'm writing about. These
Yeah.
are real things to encourage myself, because I'm really going through that. But if it helps other people, then I'll look into it.
Right. You should. You should. No pressure though. Like I should be telling myself that too. Maybe we could do something. I don't
Yeah.
know. Listen. Okay. So on a personal note, and I like to ask this question to all of my guests, what would you, as your now self, tell your younger self about today's topic, staying true to who you are?
Oh my God. I would love to go back and tell my younger self, you are right.
Mm.
I want, if I could tell myself anything, I would tell myself, you are absolutely right. I spent a lot of my younger years doubting me. I spent a lot of my younger years with the direction that I'm going now. I've always known some of this stuff. And I always just thought I was wrong because this is where that portion of dough that I wrote came from.
Mm-hmm.
Because I kept telling myself, but why would I be allowed to be that great? If
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking it, I have to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's not, I'm not, this isn't a big deal. This isn't a good thing. I'm not talented. There's nothing special about me. There were portions as I grew up, and this is after being my self-acceptance self.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got into corporate America and I had ideas, there were so many things that I said on and I was quiet about because I didn't believe that they were the right things. I accepted that they were my idea, but I wouldn't say them out loud.
Right.
And it took some certain things happening in my career and for myself to say, I'm gonna just say it because I rather just say I said it. Um, and I realized that had I done this so much longer ago, I would be so much further. And I realized as I talk to other young women, because
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of my passion, because I am a woman and so I can identify,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of them are going through that same self-doubt where they feel like, I think I got something, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Or it doesn't, my friends don't think this is hot, or this is not cool, or this is not what people like me for. People like me because I tell jokes, but they don't want to hear my mind. They don't know that. And I
Mm-hmm.
just want to go back to my younger self and say, girl,
You're
do it.
right.
You
You are
are
right.
right. No, no, no. You don't have to follow this crowd as far as this portion goes. This is cool. Like,
Right.
do it. So
Right.
that if I could go back in time at all, I would strengthen that confidence in me
Mhm.
and propel myself. But I'm glad that I didn't because I got here. I'm where I'm at, and I'm in a position now though to be corrective with those that come, after me and talk to them. And I know what their mindset is like. Because
Right.
if I had been just gung ho and known from the beginning, then I wouldn't be able to reach the people who are now going through that same doubt because I wouldn't understand it. I
Right.
won't be able. So I needed this for me. So yeah, but
I
that's
love
my
that. And I love how you gave two different perspectives. You gave how you would tell her this, but you also took it from where you are now, the
yeah.
perspective of where you are now about reaching the people as the person that you are, because you can actually help them. You've gone through it. So yes, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So before we get out of here, is there anything you want to leave with listeners with tonight about the topic, or just a closing takeaway message?
Yes. Be consistent.
Mm.
You need to be consistent. Consistency provides you a clear path where something went wrong or where something went right. If you're just out trying any and everything and just moving around and there's no method to your madness, when you strike gold, or if you strike something that looks like gold, you got to go back and do the same mad thing all over again because you
Right.
can't tell where the success was. If something goes wrong, you can't pinpoint where the pain is. So you got to take the whole thing loose to do it all over again. So
Right.
be consistent. And consistency is going to come from you deciding what that clear and that direct path is. And that direction is going to come from you being true to who you are. So it all aligns in my mind. So be consistent.
Absolutely. I love that. Dahlia, thank you for coming to kick it with me today. It has been a pleasure. I love this conversation. I cannot wait to, have listeners hear it. But I am here every Thursday. I'm available on all part podcast platforms. Like the P's getting my tongue tied. Please go listen to season 1. It's 24 episodes. Make sure you leave a comment. Make sure you share, like, follow, tell a friend. I love the constructive criticism. So please don't be afraid to leave comments. I always answer my emails, and you can email me at kikichanel2012@gmail.com.
And
And I
she answers.
always, yes, I do. I always answer. With that being said, until next time, thank you for listening in. Make sure you stay true to who you are. And if you don't know who that person is, figure it out. Get it going. Align yourself with people who are like minded that will push you into your greatness, because Greatness is inside of you. Everything that you need to be successful is on the inside. You just have to tap into that. So make sure that you do that and give it to someone else. If you already have it, help someone else along the way. It's my time. See you next time. Bye.